Hey everybody, it's Kara, and today I'm going to be talking to you about some more paranormal sorts of things, in particular my worst experience. I'm not an expert, I'm not a psychic medium, I'm not a ghost hunter. I tend to try to stay away from these sorts of things, and see, it makes me anxious just even talking about it. You can tell because I keep like messing with myself. I am in no means an expert. I'm not a crazy person. I don't feel like, but I know that a lot of people claim to have these experiences, and I went through it for, well, it was like a 2-month-long ordeal with another person, and so that kind of, I don't know if that helps at all. I'm not trying to say I can, see dead people and things like that, but I don't know what they are. I like to call it paranormal activity, experiences, things. I don't know if they're ghosts or spirits or demons or energy or any of those other things. I don't know. And like I said, I tend to try to stay away from it. I don't do Ouija boards, I don't do EVPs or, any other things, like any other ghost equipment. I don't do it. I think you can get yourself in trouble. So I stay away from that, and that's just me personally. To get right into my story, I'm going to try to make it not super long, but I do have a lot to say, and a lot did happen. A little bit of background. I had some experiences before this one, but this was just my most major, and also the most harmful. When I was little, I don't really remember seeing things necessarily. I remember sometimes feeling like there were things there, things that I didn't understand, that no one really ever tried to explain to me. Anything that I did kind of like feel or maybe hear or whatever were just, maybe they were things that I made up, or I don't know. I know that it's pretty common for children to experience things like that, but at the same time with kids, sometimes you never really know if they're just like reacting off of something that they've heard someone talk about, or if they're pretending or what. I guess you can never tell that with adults either, but I spent a long time in graveyards when I was little, as weird as that sounds. It was just something I grew up with. When you're so young, you often get left with relatives if your parents are working and things like that, so I was often left with her, and it was normal for us to go to the cemeteries and the graveyards just because I don't know why. It was just something that we did. It was like we went to the grocery store and she would take me to the local pool and we would go to the cemetery. It was just one of those things that we did all the time. It was never really weird. My parents thought it was weird. I know that now, but I'm going to tell you some bad things. Like, this is just really how normal it was. It was like a daily outing. And a lot of the time we went with a purpose. Like, we would pick up my great-grandmother and, take her to see, like, her husband and her relatives and things like that. But we went without her most of the time. And so I remember being, like, 4 or 5, and my grandma, like, sat me on her lap and let me drive around the cemetery. Like, she let me steer. And, like, I used to just run around and play. I used to always, like, pick flowers and things like that. It was just normal. Like, it seems a little strange now, but that's just what we did. And my grandma was a very normal lady. Like, I'm not sure why we did that. But, so that's just kind of a little bit of a background of my experience as a child with those sorts of things. So I didn't really have a lot of major experiences that stand out in my mind from when I was younger. The major ones kind of start when I was about 17. I had spent like the past 6 months remodeling my bedroom. My bedroom was kind of small. I have a lot of stuff, and we figured out that I lived, or well, I lived, yes, my bedroom was right in, like, the middle of the peak of the house, you know, where the roof comes together. And so that is where, in the attic, there is, like, the most room, the most room to stand, at least. And so we knocked out the ceiling in my bedroom and kind of, like, expanded my room. Like, so my room had cathedral ceilings, and then on one of the walls, like, you could, like, climb a ladder, like a library ladder, because that wall was full of bookshelves, and you could, like, go up into the attic, and that was, like, my loft where my bed was, and that was kind of, like, over the next room. It was just, we opened up my room and turned part of the attic into, like, a loft. And I started sleeping up there, because, like I said, my bed was up there, and, well, there was a lot of room. They were both really big rooms, but my bed and, like, my dresser were up there, and then downstairs I had, like, all of my books, and that was kind of, like, my art studio / closet, sort of. When I started sleeping up there, I would notice sometimes that I would hear, like, tapping or drumming, almost, like someone, like, messing with their hands. Like, you know, when you're bored and you're in school and someone's, like, drumming with their fingers or their pencils. I had kind of told my mom about it, and she said, oh, it's probably just, like, mice or, you know, something that's gotten in the attic, some sort of rodent or, you know, animal, whatever. It's like, okay, well, it only happened at night when I was about to go to sleep, and I figured out after a while that it was never a consistent tapping. It was definitely like a drumming, and it would change beats, and it was just like, like I said, someone messing with their hands, like just piddling around, being bored, whatever. And it would always happen right as I was going to sleep. Like, I turned off the lights, gotten in bed, and was just, like, laying there, and it takes me probably, like, 10 or 15 minutes to fall asleep, but it was usually within those first, like, 3 to 5 minutes it would kind of start. And I figured out after a while that if I would turn music on, like, if I would open my computer and put on some music, or, you know, put on music with my phone, and I would go to sleep with that on, that it would either drum to whatever was playing, or it would just stop. And so I don't know what that was, but music kind of helped it, I guess. And so, like, I mentioned it to my mom, and she just kind of dismissed it, and it was never problematic. So it was just something that I learned to live with, and it was no big deal. And that was all kind of during the summer before my senior year, and so this was, like, about 3 or 4 years ago. But kind of halfway into the first semester of my senior year, so probably, like, end of August, September, October-ish, I'm thinking probably around September, I had a friend who had never stayed with me before come stay the night, and it was fine. We just did normal stuff. We went to bed kind of late, and there were no issues, really. And we woke up in the morning. We woke up a little bit late, and one of the first things, like, before we got out of bed, my friend asked me if my mom had come upstairs, like, earlier that morning, which I automatically was just like, no, I can't imagine that. Just my mom, like, she didn't really ever come in my room, and she especially never really came upstairs. She just never really came up there, especially if I was sleeping. She was telling me, she was like, I could have sworn it sounded like someone was, well, it was female, so she thought it was my mom, and she said it sounded like someone was on the phone because they were talking to someone, and I heard them walk upstairs, and they said, I just got to get these blankets from the girls. So we were both sleeping in my bed, and she said, then she felt like a weight come off of our feet, like someone had literally just picked up, like, a blanket off of the bed that was bundled at our feet or something. It's like, okay, well, that's weird, and went downstairs, and I talked to my mom. She'd obviously been up for a while, and I asked her about it, and she was like, no one's been here. I haven't even been on the phone, and I didn't come upstairs. I didn't even go in your room. So after that, I definitely thought that that was kind of weird, but I didn't want to make a big deal out of something that was just small. Like, I didn't want to get all freaked out and, like, psych myself out about something that, you know, somebody might have thought that happened when they were just kind of half awake, still kind of dreaming. After that particular event, I started feeling really strange at my house. Like I'd be out and I would be totally fine, be in a good mood, be great, and then I would come home and I would just start feeling really bad, not physically but emotionally. Like I would just feel really down, really sad, like all of these different negative emotions. I would get really angry, which I hardly ever get just mad for no reason. Like just like throwing things, like having an absolute fit just out of nowhere kind of mad. I'm not like that at all. I never really have been. I'm a little bit of an introvert anyway, and I've noticed that sometimes if I spend too much time alone, I do start to like kind of spiral myself downwards, and so I kind of thought that that was what was going on. Maybe it was because like I would come home and I would be by myself for so long that I would just start to develop all these feelings. I started going out a lot more. Like I wouldn't come home immediately from school. I would go hang out with my friends and do homework, or you know, if it were the weekends, I would try to spend time with other people and like go out to dinner or go shopping or whatever, you know, normal stuff. And I wasn't really partying or anything because that was not really my thing. But I was just hanging out with people. So a lot of the times that kind of left my mom alone, which she never really minded, but it was just her and I in that house. So there was one night where, this is her version of the story, I was not there, but this is what I was told. She was sitting in our living room just watching TV with our 2 dogs like normal, and all of a sudden the dog, my dog actually, Zephyr, if you've watched any of my videos you've probably seen him, but all of a sudden she noticed that my dog, which was laying next to her, just started growling, and he is so mild-mannered. He never growls, ever, not without a reason. I mean, of course, if there's somebody at the door, he's going to bark a few times. If there's a dog that he hasn't met before, he might growl a little, but he never, ever growls out of nowhere. It is always provoked. He, I guess, just started growling, and the hair on the back of his neck, when he gets really upset, it literally stands straight up. It was just standing up, and he was staring at the air vent in the ceiling. And he did that for quite some time, and I guess when he stopped, my mom was obviously a little freaked out because, you know, when you know your animals, you know when something's wrong with them. The air conditioner wasn't on, it didn't scare him. It's not like he hadn't lived in that house for many years, so she was genuinely concerned, and she kind of put some things together and I guess kind of connected some of the feelings that I had been having and the stories I'd been telling her and maybe other things that she'd been feeling and that particular experience together. And she immediately went into my room and she just stood downstairs, and she went inside and she just kind of addressed my room as a whole. And from what I have been told, she just kind of said, you know, I know you're here, I don't know what you want. If you're going to mess with someone, you're going to mess with me and you're going to leave my baby the hell alone. She never really told me about any of these incidents until right after they'd happened, and she was really starting to get scared. But I guess the next night, kind of after she'd had that one particular experience, she was about to go to sleep and she was in her bed. My dogs were in the room with her, just on the floor, and she was about to fall asleep when she heard my dog growling again. So immediately she was kind of on edge. She was looking around, and she said it just got really quiet all of a sudden, and she felt a breeze under her comforter. And her comforter's really heavy, so if it's on top of you, there's really no air getting in there. It's not like a sheet or something. And just as she was like kind of starting to question that, she was still laying down, still in her bed, and she said she felt like something just sat on top of her. Just, it was crushing her. She couldn't breathe. She couldn't think, and the whole time there was just like a low growl that was happening, and she said it lasted for quite some time, and that was when she really started to get scared. And what she had always taught me, and I guess what she was taught herself, was that when something like that happens, or you're afraid, or you think that something bad is there, you basically imagine yourself emanating just an intense light, just a warm light. Just imagine that, like, just coming out of you, and you say, you're not welcome here, and whatever else you want to throw in there, but the basic part is, in the name of God, I command you to leave. And she said that she did that, and she finally calmed down enough and went to bed. Morning, after that particular experience, when she got up, she had bruises on her thighs. This one is really weird. Imagine if you had a brick, just a normal rectangle brick, and you slammed it down on the top of your thighs, what kind of bruise that would leave. It was a rectangle, but I have never seen a crisper, clearer bruise. You know, like if you run into something, like, you know, like if you actually dropped a brick on your thigh, it would probably leave weird marks. Like, it would probably be, you know, the size of the object maybe, but it would be different colors and different parts where it hit harder, or like, you know, it hit first, and it wouldn't be just the exact shape, but this was crisp, clear as day. It looks like you just painted on her skin, and they were all colored the exact same way. They were, you know, they were all completely black at the same time. They all faded away to yellow at the same time, you know, and that was just, that doesn't happen. So after that, of course, she was really scared, and she let me know kind of what was going on with her at that point, and we had a Catholic blessing, whatever, something, I'm not sure, that I was not home for, which may have been why it didn't work, I don't know. And then we burned sage on our own for a couple of days. You're supposed to do that to cleanse, and my mom never had any experiences after that one in particular, but that's when things got worse for me. I was never, like, attacked, really, or kind of, or injured like she was, but I was never really alone in my house after that. I think that they came after her because they didn't want to be told to stay away from me. And I don't know where these things came from, but I have been told that when you live in your home and you have people that are suffering with, you know, anxiety and depression and just going through hard times and having these bad feelings, like, that can kind of cultivate and draw negative things to you. And my house was not an unhappy house, but, you know, everybody's got their problems that they're fighting off, and my mom and I definitely did. So I think maybe we attracted something, I don't know. Another thing that I have since learned, or been told, there may be fact in this, there may not, I'm not sure, but I have been told that when you do what we did, which is do the, in the name of God, I command you to leave, whatever you're commanding away will leave, but 6 more will come, and they may be good, they may be bad, they may be both. You don't really know what you're getting. You're getting a party bag of hot mess. So we had that going on. Like I said, at this point in time, things were getting weird for me. The ticking that I had heard was not there anymore. Like, the thing that I had been used to for so long, that was gone, and I never heard it again, actually. when I would be going to sleep, after a while I kind of figured out that this would happen, and I started testing it. If I were going to sleep, I usually sleep on my side, and I would be laying there, and I would feel behind me, like someone like pressed their arm down beside you almost, or something weird like that, like something got on your pillow, or like something like that, and there would be like breathing behind my head, and I just kind of dealt with it. I always just rolled myself into it. I don't know why. That was just the way I made it stop. I just rolled into it. And like if I would pretend to be asleep, that would happen sometimes. I don't know. There's just all sorts of a mess going on, and we could just never really seem to get rid of it. But it was never harmful to me. It was only harmful when you wanted to make it get away from me. That was just kind of something that I had to live with for like a month. It got to a point where my dogs wouldn't come in my room, which is so weird. They wouldn't walk in there. They would stand at the doorway, and I would call them in. My mom would walk in there and call them in, and they would not go in my room at all. You couldn't fool them. If you carried them in there, they would run right back out as soon as you set them down. They would squirm to get away from you. And that's not like my animals whatsoever. My worst moment was when I had been out one night. It was probably 10 o'clock when I got home. The house was dark. My mom was asleep. She had both of the dogs in her bedroom with her. I came home that night. I just went straight to my bedroom, and as soon as I walked in, I just got this immediate feeling of dread pouring over me. I just wanted to go to bed, and I threw my bag down, and I stood on the first step up my library ladder to get to my loft, and I started hearing this ticking noise, just like a sort of thing, and I thought that maybe it was my fan, because you know sometimes fans, if they're off balance, they'll make noises. My fan wasn't on. There's nothing that would really make that sound, because I thought about it for a second, and I was just feeling so horrible and frightened. And so as I started to climb the stairs, there aren't very many of them. It takes about 10 seconds to climb at best, and every step up that I got, it just kept getting louder and faster and just like more aggressive. I got up the ladder, and it was just really intense at this point, and I just ran across the loft to my bed. I dove in my bed, and I was just curled up kind of in the fetal position, and it was just going off and going off and going off, and I cannot tell you how quiet I said this. I don't think it was even audible. I think I just barely moved my mouth. I was just like, in the name of God, I command you to leave again. And like I said, I barely even said it out loud. And as soon as it left my mouth, the exact instant the last syllable left my mouth, dead quiet. Dead quiet. Everything stopped. And I was able to just calm down and go to sleep, and there was nothing really else going on after that. The next day was Thanksgiving, and we told someone in our family about what had been going on, and I guess he had recently converted really heavily to Christianity and was very, very into it, and was very knowledgeable. And he said, "Don't go home. Don't go home." He's like, "Just wait for me to go get some things. I'll meet you at your house. Do not go inside without me." So we went home and we waited for him, and when we went outside, he was just automatically like, something's really wrong. And we took him inside. He read some passages. I don't honestly know a lot about the Bible. I don't remember what he read, but he read some things, and he, in oil, drew crosses on all of our doorways, and then drew crosses on my mom and I's foreheads. We asked him if he would do the same to our dogs, but he told us that they really don't do that to animals, because they said if something gets bad enough the animal will run away, or like if something is following them and they can't get rid of it, they will basically put themselves in harm's way to kill themselves, basically. And so he said he couldn't do that. But after that, everything was fine. I don't know what happened or what changed, but that was the only thing that worked, and there was never anything bad in the house again. It just kind of all stopped. I've never had an experience like that since then. However, since that happened to me, I have had, I guess, heightened sensibility. I see things, I hear things, I don't know, I guess are still kind of stuck to me. But I was told after the fact that if you make friends with something like that, even if it's good, they can kind of attach themselves to you, and you'll be more susceptible to other things. I think that maybe, I don't know what it was, but I think that maybe catering to the needs of my drumming thing, playing it music, telling it was alright if it was there, that I didn't mind, that it could stay and hang out as long as it wanted, maybe that was not a good choice. So, things still happen a lot, and sometimes it's really frequently, and sometimes it's a year in between, but things definitely happen a lot more now. And so, I don't know, that's just kind of my story. Take it for what it is, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have questions, talk to me. I'm always willing to hear that, and I know that this is long again, so I'm sorry, but yeah, thank you guys. Keep in contact, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.